Hi, we're recording, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, guys, we're live. So we're doing a podcast today with our two nice young men, Joey Haylock, Alex. Welcome. And we thought we'd just go ahead and talk about issues that are facing young people, and they get to share their hearts on different topics. So today we can begin by tough questions that a lot of people don't want to talk about. But either two of you, what do you think are one of the causes of crime in our society today?
You go first.
Whoever wants to go
Well,
first, doesn't matter.
when you talk about causes, I think that it's natural, and as a pastor, I have to say that any kind of thing like that is caused by sin. It's obvious that sin plays an incredible role in that. I would say it is the underlying factor of crime. I mean, I know that seems like almost like a cop out, but there's other factors that lead to it. But if you get down to the root of it, it is a lack of salvation. That's my small little opinion, little tidbit. We can get deeper in it if we need to.
Yeah, definitely.
Just
What
one
you
more
said.
lover.
Definitely what he said. I would say the cause of crime and everything is people turn to their own understanding and trying to rationalize stuff by themselves. And what that tends to bring is the devil bringing ideas in their head that they would not have thought about, and things that they didn't want to do, but with a lack of opportunity and I would say funds to do stuff in life, they seek for other stuff that are easier and damaging to their lives.
True. Yeah.
Right, and then would you say more specifically, like I think a lot of young men are kind of looking for meaning. Do you think a lot of them are turning to the drinking and stuff just for to fit in or companionship? Like I was talking to a young man today, he was like, "Oh, it could be depression." What do you think would be causing young men to turn to start drinking or smoking weed? What do you think? Fitting in, um, the money that they heard could make off it. What do you think?
Well, like you say, company plays a big role in that because the company that you have is what drives you to do certain stuff. If you got a company that likes to go drinking, you're gonna try to fit in with your company, not to be let out or to be the outcast in your friend group.
Right.
But if you have friends that don't do that, it'll be a better stepping stone for you to do beneficial stuff in your life, like get a job and look for goals instead of wasting your life on frivolous things.
Yeah, I think that just reminiscing kind of growing up, when we're looking at how where our life would take us if we just do what we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that chasing girls, chasing fun. I always laugh about things, and I never smoked anything because my doctor had told me that if I smoked, I was gonna die because I had asthma. And it was the only reason I say that is because, like, you might call that, you might say that that's such a weird thing, but I look at that as God intervening in my life in an interesting way because that's such a blatant, bold-faced lie. I would not have died. I would probably, well, I don't know. Well, let's put it that way, but I don't know. But obviously, he wasn't saying that like he knew that I would die because that's not true. But one of the things that did stop me, it changed my outlook on life, and it changed my perspective of things that never tempted me. Now, plenty other things tempted me. Plenty other things tempted me, and I found myself involved in a lot of other sins, especially sexual sins. But the point that I'm trying to make is your environment really impacts what things you go after. And if you live in a godly environment, the exposure and the desires for the world, you'll have less availability to them, I believe. I believe every young man, I mean, whoever's listening to this, whoever's watching this, whoever will watch this, I believe almost every young man have the same kind of temptations, have the same kind of ideas, but it's the availability through the wrong company. You spend a time with a kid that has devoted their years from 9 to 15 of finding where badness is.
Yep.
You can be in a bad situation as a child, as a 15-year-old kid, because that kid has spent years perfecting. He got a master's degree in badness, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like he know where to find the free liquor. He know where to find the drugs. He know who to talk to about the guns. He know all of these things. And so while sin is the underlying factor, I do believe clearly that those things that the people you hang out with is so important. You got, if you, as a father, as a parent, as a guardian, you got to be very careful of who you allow your children to hang out with, because it can destroy them. It can destroy them because they have learned how to access this nasty stuff, you know? Because the internet is a terrible place, but most children, if your mind is pure, you're not gonna know where to look and what to look for. But you get a little bit of exposure, you start searching around on the web. I tell you, the devil finds you by idle hands.
Speaking about that, so do you think it's wise? I've seen Christian parents give children phones.
Yeah.
Do you think that's wise? Oh, let me just stop for a minute. Because they're not like, okay, when I came out of school in 1981, we didn't even have computers. Nowadays, there are computers and phones are everywhere, right? And the kids, they're teaching from the time you're like 7 how to use a keyboard and stuff. So they're far more advanced than we are, right? So is that a great tool to give in the hands of a child who has been taught from 7 years old how to do things on the internet, on a computer?
No, well, I don't know what I mean. I anxious to hear what Alex said, because it's kind of like a generation apart almost. But how old are you, Alex?
I'm 24.
24. Well, we're not so far apart. We're just like 10 years. 10 years. But one of the things that is I find always interesting is like just how capable children are with technology today, and but alongside of it, if a parent is ready to be responsible for their child, as technologically savvy as a child is, a parent who puts a phone in the child's hand should be prepared to be responsible for what they need. Because I'll tell you this, children today are doing a lot of other things. You got Jubilate, you got which children are traveling at 8 years old, from East End to Boarding Savannah, right? You got after school programs, you got all kind of different things where children need communication. And I don't like even the idea of children saying, go find somebody to call. Really? I don't like that either. However, so that being said, if you put that phone in that child's hand, you better have had every chance and every possible way to make sure that that phone is safe in that child's hand, because you are putting access to the world into that child's hand. I always say this is like, listen, in my house, internet shuts off when night come. If I say this is your bedtime, and I'm giving you the ability to go on the internet, oh, I got data. No, you don't. If you got data on your phone is with me, right? You understand? And you say, well, that sounds crazy. No. You got to understand. It's like, no one would put a gun into their child's hand at them kind of ages without supervision. They say, here, son, go keep this under your bed, without training them, without making sure that this is thing. And even so, I'll tell you, you put a gun in a child's hand that age, I say you really got some. You either not all there or something. But a gun in the right person's hand makes you feel safe. Right? And so it is just like what you said, a tool. I can't remember who said it, but it's just a tool. But it is a tool that can be used for evil, and the devil is using it for evil. And so you gotta be responsible for it. But curious to hear what you think about it as well.
So what my take on it is that definitely as a kid growing up, I wasn't introduced to a phone until I was like 17.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is, as a parent to your child, before you give them a device or anything, make sure you instill the values that your parents, if your parents gave you good values, to instill out good values into them while before they get into the big up of the world and everything
Yeah.
and seeing all this stuff, because opinions can come to them, and if they're not trained in the right way, they can easily be overthrown. Their morals can be overthrown by that, and that would be their morals. So I would say you gotta always be able to instill in your child what the right things to do, godly things especially, because the world wants you to go any way.
Yeah.
It'll like to throw you about ever such way. So
Yeah.
definitely.
You know, one of the things that you talk about too, and Jackie, you always talk about it too, is training. You mentioned that just now, like training, and that's another part too. I think that that's equally important, because I didn't mention that too much just now, but I mentioned more of the parents' responsibility. But it is part of the parents' responsibility is to say, hey, listen, this stuff that you can see on this is deadly. I tell any young boy when I talk to them straight. I don't talk to them like I don't assume that they don't know what porn is. If you go public school, you know what porn is.
Yep.
I'm sorry to tell you, with primary schools, you getting children sexually harassing each other. Primary schools, I know of it. I know of rape cases in primary schools. All right, I'm not gonna call this primary school, but I know of it. If you are in public high school, stop assuming maybe the child will know. The child know. The child know. All right. I'm telling you, it's a reality that's sad, but it is a reality. You need to warn your child that this stuff here you will be exposed to it, just like drugs, just like cocaine, just like alcohol, porn, and other things. Is serious, deadly poison that you should stay away from. You know, you tell everybody, oh, this is the, and you even see some parents, worldly parents, of course, but some parents still they're like, oh well, that's natural, that's part of the development. I've heard that. Trust me, listen, you hear it, and because I don't want my child to be
Naive.
No, they say naive too, but they says like they don't want them to be a buzzkill. Like they want to have fun and stuff like that. Oh yeah, listen, and it's like it's a twisted version of what fun is. Fun means have sex with as many people as you can. Try a little thing, don't go too far. You know, it's like what's too far? You know, and so it's like it's a terrible idea to. It's like the blind leading the blind. Like you have no idea what you were protected from, and because you didn't have access to it. And now it's like it's crazy. A statistic that blows my mind every time is the fact that when you a child today have access to view more women in 1 hour than King Solomon was able to view in his entire life.
True. Because you got a world at your fingertips.
Millions. Millions of pictures.
In
an hour, Jesus. Well, I don't know, maybe not an hour, but it's crazy. It's crazy. And so you gotta be careful. It's a deadly tool if it's used wrong.
And I mean, if I had a child, I would say 6 o'clock. That's it. I mean, hey, at least we come home from school. So if it was for extracurricular activities, right, I would make sure, okay, the child's home safely. Pull that phone away from the child. I have it. But these kids are running 7 years old, running up and down with phones. And then they're concerned, oh, they don't want to sing in church. They don't want to come to church. No, one of the girls said to me, she was 15. She said, Miss Jackie, once I have my phone, I okay. That was her company. She said, yeah, I okay. That's keep them occupied all night long. You know what I mean? They don't need to go to church. They don't want to go sing. They don't want to play their trumpet and stuff because you can sit there and browse to your heart's content on a phone, you know? So I think it's and it's too bad I checked on because I saw where my mother had it. It's called Gabby in the US, where it's only a phone I checked, but it's not available in the Cayman Islands, like, you
Mm.
know what I mean, like available as in a network kind of thing.
Okay.
And so she buy her kids that because they're in activities, but they only a phone, not a smart phone. It's like a cell phone, but only a phone.
Yeah.
Nothing else on. No YouTube, none of this you can pick up.
Yeah.
So something like that I could see, you know.
Well. No, here is where I say this as well, and I just want to be careful of what I say because I mean I'm sure that it's a possibility to impact anybody, but one thing that I say is that putting things into children's hand is dangerous, but I think that the important thing is to realize that training how can only be a part of it. But one problem that a lot of parents have, and I'm seeing this, is that they trust the children.
Yep.
I talk straight.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
I
trust the
know.
children. It's like, oh, they wouldn't do that. What?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Listen, I
probably
listen. I'm not
sorry.
trying to be, I'm not trying to be rude or whatever. But speaking as a son,
Well, kids are curious though, aren't they? I mean, yeah, my parents trusted me too, but I'm curious. Like if I click on that Instagram page and that, you know, which bright child doesn't want to explore? End of story.
which person?
Yeah,
Not even
but-
children.
Yep.
Right.
A person.
Children are curious.
Person.
Yeah,
Children are
person in
curious, but I mean,
general.
even like the brighter the child is, the
Yeah.
more they want. Well, let me try that. Let me try that.
But I think I would even go a little deeper, Jackie, because I'm talking about like, oh, my child is good. Like, listen, I talk to. I talk about my mom. I talk to my mother, and me and my parents have a good relationship. And I can tell you, I was a very good child.
Yeah.
Everybody looked up to me. But that was only in talk. That was only in conversation.
Yeah.
That was only in conversation because I can promise you that was not a good child.
Yep.
You know, and that there was a lot of things that I did that was terrible. And
You mean in the back office, in the back
Oh,
office?
of
yeah,
course,
like when
of
their
course.
eyes wasn't there. Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
I mean, not in front of my man. Oh,
Yeah.
no. But not in front of daddy. I got my head slapped
Yep,
off.
Right.
But
After school.
but
I
yeah,
think that's
all kind of different things in school.
Yeah.
Oh, field trips, summer camps. Oh, I used to love summer camps. You know, because but that's the fact of life is that it doesn't matter if your child is good.
Yeah.
It matters that you need to make sure that you are keeping your children accountable as well, because people treat their children kind of just like a lot of people do with their money too. That's another idea. They just put it somewhere and it's like, well, when I get to 70, I hope it's all there. It's like,
Yeah, put it
really?
there.
Really?
Yeah.
You need to check what kind of plan you got there in that pension because that might have got lost and in COVID, you might not have
Exactly.
anything there. So yeah, anyway, that's my 2 cents there. Probably true.
But I don't, and so I'm real passionate about that because I'm seeing so many kids, like I said, you try to get them involved in church work and stuff, and they're not interested because, and again, I've heard children say that, man, I got my phone, man. So like I said, it's kind of almost like companionship for the child, you know what I mean? And once you can get a play on that, Instagram and YouTube and this and that, they don't need to prepare for tomorrow's practice the drum for tomorrow. Sunday school church to take part. Sunday school church to be involved to take part. That little phone is their little.
Yeah. No. I'll say that's an interesting point that you were saying there. You know, is that because when it comes to, and I gotta be delicate here, but I gotta be straight. You when it comes to involvement in church, right? Just like kind of we had talked about yesterday. I believe that the problem is that parents want their children to appear as being good, rather than making sure that they got the root problem sorted out. You don't know Jesus. That child doesn't know Jesus. How you gonna act like you know Jesus?
Right.
If you don't know Jesus, it's gonna be a tainted version. And so I will always encourage. I think that in church involvement as children is so important. Come out and do things and perform and bring a sing praises to God and do your best in church to give God glory. But nothing should ever go past realizing that anything you bring to God is not going to be accepted by Him unless it is first coming from someone who's holy.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so we have
Absolutely.
all everything that has breath, the Bible tells us,
That's true.
has a requirement to praise
Praise the
God.
Lord. Mhm.
But God doesn't have a requirement to receive all of that praise.
Right.
Mhm.
Because some of that praise he don't
Don't hear.
want. It's not acceptable
Yep.
if it's coming from a tainted vessel. That's just speaking honestly, and that's what the Bible says. And so I think sometimes we got to be very careful that we don't get the cart before the horse. And it's really good to get your children to play musical instruments. I thank the Lord for the blessing that God allowed me to experience and grow up in where I can play instruments and stuff like that. And it's a very best thing. And I think that that's a great thing. I don't want to make sure that I'm being clear, but I think that, man, boy, when you're dealing with that, check on your children. Like, just talk to them,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
Like you miss, so many people miss that. Like,
Yeah.
just check on them. Like,
Yeah.
how you doing? Are you
Yeah,
saved?
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
What does being saved mean to you?
Mhm.
Oh, will I go to church? Like, someone will tell you that. Like,
Yep.
I go to church. I don't lie. I try not to lie. Even some of them say,
Yep.
you know, it's like they don't have no idea what being saved means. You know,
Yep.
being covered by the blood of Jesus, and
Yep.
having the Holy Spirit. So
Mhm.
it's like, yeah. So all those things are very important. But I do like the idea of being involved, and I think that entertainment, period, because it's not just. It's so unfortunate because it's not just the phone. Because you got some of the kids that like so many in the football leagues now. It's like they're during Sunday school. Like they start at 10.
Whoa.
Yeah, most under
Whoa.
15. That's their game times.
Really?
Sunday morning, 10 o'clock.
I didn't know that.
So it's like,
Yeah, I got lost a little bit because I know you used to be an afternoon, Sunday afternoon,
well,
you know.
7,
I used to
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, see, a
so-
lot of them too see the kids not going to church anyway, so they're like, okay, let me get them involved. Otherwise,
Yeah.
And that's the devil's way to getting kids away from church
Well,
and everything.
sure,
He works in small little bits, but he overall gets what he wants in the end. So, but then, like you say, he gets what he gets in the end, which is destruction. So
Yeah.
we gotta shield the young people as much as we can, get them on the right track, because they got so much that grab and so much thing to grab their attention.
Exactly. You say, oh no, I can't. I'm not going to shield my, you know. So when they get out there, they don't know. But your little mind is so precious, you know what I mean? And you're going to be exposed anyhow at 17, 18 to a lot that's shocking.
Yeah.
So why not help a little child be a child though? Why not try to guide and have some little boundaries for them so they can enjoy their childhood, you know what I mean? But a lot of people are like, no, boy, I don't want them to be surprised when the world out there, they go wild. But again, their little minds are, so why not guide them from a young age? You know what I mean?
Spoken like truly like somebody who does not know the protected power of Jesus Christ. You know, spoken truly by somebody. And I've heard that same thing. It's like I don't want them to be surprised. You know, it's like, Jesus can protect them.
Definitely.
He can do it. So
And when I said that a lot about kids involvement, because I see it a lot where kids are simply brought to church. Like we're coming because our parents make us come. And then when they hit 18, that's it. They're not going back. They've graduated. You know, I think if you get a child, even before he's knowledgeable about what he's doing at 5 and 7 years old, they get to just get into being involved and contributing and not come and be sitting down in church. They go to Sunday school. If you get them involved, I think they like it as they go on. Yeah?
Yeah.
And in most churches, I would say churches not really give a child a voice when it comes to like activities and stuff. And without the child be able to contribute, he not gonna feel, say, oh. And then when it comes to, I would say, your parents, when you come to church for the first time, you can't shun somebody that parents already, and they don't even get to experience Jesus fully and change themselves with Jesus.
Right.
So that kind of stray people away from church because it's more judgment than loving, I would say.
That's really important too. Is that a lot of times we put expectation on people to be Christians before they really are. And sadly, that's a stigma. But I think sometimes people like to use that. People like to use that actually, like
Yeah,
sinners.
don't judge me when I get it.
Yeah,
Don't judge me.
no. What I mean is like they like to use that as in like, oh, I can't come out to church because I got no dresses.
Oh,
As a pastor, I hear that all the time. You know, I go and get my dress and then I can come out to church. But I was gonna say too is like I one of the things that so our Sunday school and the youth group model for the high schoolers basically. When I took over the pastorate in Breakers, one of the things that we said was that have a back and forth style ministry. And I think you were mentioning there about giving the young people a voice. You know, I think like so many young people have so many questions.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing that I can say is that I've watched firsthand where churches don't listen to the children.
Yeah.
But they try to give them opportunities. But what they've ended up doing is they got the cart before the horse.
Yeah. They didn't hear that child out. So,
you got a child that's interested in coming to church because they want to know about Jesus.
Right.
Not because they wanted to become a slave.
Yeah.
Not because they wanted to work.
Yeah.
But when you got Jesus in you, you want to work for Jesus. Right? And so I think a lot of time you gotta because let's face it, I mean, if you whatever you're gonna do for church takes work. Right? I mean, it takes time. And not a lot of kids want to do that. But if you got Jesus in your heart, you're gonna say, you can be able to say, you know, this is your way of being a help toward Jesus. And that's the thing. When you love Jesus, you want to do things for him. And I can testify to that. And even as a young person, you know, there's a desire there to want to serve God in that way, to want to do things, to want to go beyond. But when you lose that, that's how you get a lot of problems, and then you end up having children in the church that end up and what happens when the two kids that you have been working on the church stuff and they end up getting pregnant, you know, getting in a relationship and sinning and all these kind of things, or poisoning other people, or like gossiping and different things. It's so in strife. And what do you do then? Well, you didn't deal with the carnality that was in carnality of humanity, rather than dealing with Jesus, you know, and working it through there. So I think that's such an important thing to just hear the kids today. I mean, I don't know how I don't know. I mean, you're not that far behind me, but I can tell you, like, I had so many questions, man. Oh my goodness, so many questions. And quite frankly, I wouldn't have been comfortable talking to my parents. You know, quite frankly, like, I wasn't gonna talk to them, but I would have talked to my youth group leader if it was a guy like that, like me. You know, I would have talked to my youth group leader definitely, because I talked to other people, my teachers and stuff like that. I did talk to them. And so it's just unfortunate. That's kind of why I always wanted to go to another youth group when I was growing up. I tell you straight up, I never wanted to go to our youth group.
Because you want to talk to a stranger.
Not just because I wanted to talk to a stranger, but because the infrastructure wasn't there. It was very structured. It was kind of like Bible school.
Oh yeah, but you know,
there you go. It wasn't an interactive.
There you go.
You listen and you have no
exactly. And I have a problem with that, where the teacher is doing, and I see it, and that's kind of why I said, let me make a platform. I just find, like, you go to some school and they're doing all the talking.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Jerry, what did you face peer pressure with today? Or did you see pornography on your phone? Be real. You know what I mean? Like, give them, let them talk.
That's what I'm talking about by the interactive model. That's what I meant by that, because that is key.
Exactly.
Because kids need to be heard.
Exactly.
You know? So I don't know.
And like a mother said, she don't even say to her child no more, how was school today? But they're not saying, oh, it's okay. No, okay. Did you find any peer pressure? Did you bully anybody? Did you bully anybody? Did you take your phone when I told you not to take your phone?
Ask them
directly. Did you see the bathroom? Putting like making it easy for them to talk about.
And bringing stuff out into the light.
There you go. Otherwise, they're gonna say, okay.
Because they don't want to keep it in.
But if you start picking, then they're like, I'll answer her one of these questions.
So I can't
There's a lot of questions here. I can't say no to everyone. You know. So
And two, I think it's a perfect balance too, because or it have to be the perfect balance because one of the things too is you pray and you say, God, help me to have the words, help me to have the right questions to ask. Because I mean, let's face it, the youth group teacher, Sunday school teacher, not a parent.
correct.
You're gonna feel a little abusive almost
Right.
to go through the 21 questions with the kid.
Right.
But to your point, then if you ask the right questions, it's gonna like sometimes you'd ask a question of, well, what do you think about peer pressure? And then you just get them talking, and then eventually it starts talking about what had happened 2 years ago in the bathroom that they saw that messed with them. Now they got PTSD. You didn't even know. The parents don't know.
Yep.
Now they're going to counseling. Now they're healing through Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like all of that came from one question that was similar, but just kind of led them along those lines.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of going to lead me to what kind of segue into the good question. And it says, which you guys know that very well, but also one of the questions, can God change a life? Said child is defiant and rebellious. Can God change?
Well, definitely he can. He could change anybody. I see examples all over the place of people being changed from jail cells, from being drug lords, being drug dealers and everything, and God changing their lives. God made us for a purpose to serve him. And when we go out our line of serving him, he tries his best, not forcing us to bring us back to him because he knows what's best for us. But like I say, if we try to go do what we want and have our own say in anything, we can't get anywhere. We walk through life, I would say, gossiping about people, doing bad to people and not feeling away. And the devil wants to keep us in that situation so we can be more of a hindrance to people than be a blessing. So definitely.
I've witnessed people life be changing. I mean, I can testify of myself, and I believe that the change. Well, remember we got easy.
Okay.
So you got to speak loud. But one of the things that I find that is so serious about change in life is that when we realize that when we just remember our testimony, when we remember what God has done for us, it is so easy for us to how I won't say it like this. It is so difficult to try to tell somebody else something that you not proved.
Yep.
But if you can say, "Hey, listen, I know where I used to be. I know the feeling of being under the bonds of pornography. I know the feeling of being bound by sexual sin. I know the feeling of the shaking of my body because the dopamine addiction is. I'm going through dopamine withdrawals. Right? Like I can tell you that God has changed my life to the fact that I want to even fight those things, that I don't want to give into this flesh. Why? Because I'm not serving the same master anymore. My mind has been changed and it is being renewed, and that's a beautiful thing. And but that in itself is the way that God does change. So you ask the question, can God change? Yes, but even more so is the fact that how he does it, and that is like changing that whole mindset where you used to care only about yourself. But now you care for others because you love God. And you see others the way that
God sees them.
and that's a beautiful thing, and that's a powerful thing because one of the hardest things for me is to put up with them hitters and them beggars. I don't know where you live, but in Westway, Subway. Hardest thing to deal with is like that. But when you realize that's somebody's child. That's somebody that Jesus died for. Where would I have been? The minute you start thinking like that, the introspection of life through Jesus Christ. I mean, it doesn't become, it isn't hard. Your whole life is going to change.
Yeah.
Your whole life is going to change. Your whole perspective is going to change. Everything is going to change. Drugs, you see drugs for what it really is, just a cover up, just a distraction from reality. You see escape into music, escape into entertainment, escape porn, sex, everything. You see it for what it is. It's just escape.
Right.
But through Jesus, we can deal with reality in a wonderful way. We can live a fulfilled life. We can. It's incredible, and so I think that's where. But I think that you have to be able to first start to talk about what Jesus has done for you. You know, before you can start. You know, nobody don't want to hear something. They won't hear what they want to hear something that you know works. You can sell that way different. You know, you can sell that way different. So, that's how. Go ahead.
Definitely, call you say about the last one.
Yeah.
If you do a testimony on the last one about that, it gets everybody. Nobody, I would say, nobody is hindered from it.
Yeah. You said the last one. What was
lust and
pornography.
Oh yeah.
Definitely, everybody deals with that. So if you talk about that and you talk about being released from that as best as you can, definitely people be like, I would like to get a taste of that. I get a taste of Jesus in my life to help me get through that stuff, because that's a definite part what gets people into think that dopamine levels. When that deprives you of motivation and everything. You turn to easy, simple stuff like drugs and everything, and that teaches on
that's
deep
even
road.
worse. More worse thing.
Speaking about that, also, do you feel a lot of our young people are getting involved in trouble because of lack of responsibilities in the home? Because people say, "Oh, they don't have nothing to do." But I look at cadet corps, so many stuff that they've got there for young people. So do you think we need to start teaching young people from a young age to take some responsibility, and again, beginning from the home? And hey, what's your thoughts on that?
So, well, as me growing up in my home and stuff, I would say that I was kind of the child that was depended upon to do a lot of stuff in the home, which I don't mind it, because when you're reliable, it makes sense that your parents would be saying, "Hey, come help me do this." But like I say, reliability is a good thing to do, good thing to build up while you're in the home before you get a job and stuff, because you will be able to help people on your job site in your local neighborhoods and stuff. And it helps be a big benefit to yourself and others, especially towards working for God. You can be able to help your sisters and brothers. You can have burdens for them. You can pray for them. All this stuff is beneficial for your growth and for the growth around the people around you.
Yeah, you know, I think that when you have that, when you have your mind set to be used and to work and to kind of be able to do some of the hard things in life, I think that's a really big. I think you got to step up on half or maybe even more of your current generation, you know. But I think that like what you were saying, Jackie, you know, about responsibilities and stuff. I think that it's really important to instill in children's lives a sense of responsibility, because I think that's part of training up a child in the way they should go. You know, because you know, if children don't learn discipline at home, they become. It's very difficult for them to become Christians. That's a theory that I've been looking at and through God's word, because you see, the whole idea. Paul used a metaphor. I preached on it this morning. Paul used a metaphor of in Romans chapter 6 of you are servants to whoever you obey. Right? Romans chapter 6. He uses that metaphor, and basically what that is that when we become a Christian, we have a mindset of servanthood. Now that doesn't mean that the Holy Spirit can't change our minds, but it is the idea that I am going to serve God that plenty of people run from. They're like,
yep,
"Ma,
yep.
I don't want to serve nobody.
Yep,
I want to live
yep,
my own
yep,
life."
yep.
Exactly.
You know, but if you got discipline in your house and you have, you know, you're responsible for chores, you know, you're responsible for doing things, you're very involved. Yeah, but I'll tell you this is that some parents, they really burn out their kids too, though. I tell you,
Yep, yep.
Good for you, you know that. I haven't,
No,
I have not lived to see that at all.
here's why I mean by that.
Mhm.
Here's what I mean by that. They get to college and then they were too busy getting the kids involved with stuff than rather giving them the attention that they needed,
Uh-huh.
the personal time that they needed, the relationship building that they needed, and they become like, I don't, for lack of a better word, sociopathic people, where they're just like really good doctors, really good lawyers, but they have lost the personal connection.
Okay.
Right? They've just become hyper focused on this one thing, and they become, I believe it's Isaiah or Jeremiah, one of those two prophets that talk about the eagles that have made their nest in the cleft of the rock, that say that no wind can ever take me out of it. They have become so mature because they've done it without Jesus that now now essentially what you have are some kids. Well, they grow up to be adults, and now they have no use for a God. They have no use for a savior.
Yeah.
Right? Then that's where I believe where you get the atheistic movement from,
Yeah.
where you get all those things because they've been instilled with this idea that I can do it. It's the lie of self-esteem as well. Christians shouldn't believe in self-esteem. You should believe that Jesus, through Jesus, I can do everything.
Yeah.
That's what the Bible teaches, right? Not through yourself you can do everything,
Right.
but with Jesus you can do everything. And what has ended up happening is you've put so much pressure on the kid rather than looking for their spiritual well-being. That their physical has been so like bulked up because it's like they're going to gym all the time, and they've become they're excellent at everything. I mean, they go to cadet, they go to music classes, they go to all those things. And that's just three. I mean, you're talking about some of them that go karate, they do football, they do everything.
Oh, really?
I know. Oh yes, I know some, and you know what? They grow up. Because I talk about somebody that I went to school with.
Yeah.
They grow up and they become very successful.
You're right.
And what ends up happening? But now Christian,
Spiritual, right? They're
spiritual
successful.
barren,
Right. Exactly.
spiritual barren. And so with everything, I believe, and just like everything, there needs to be a balance. And so what I notice is that some parents, they put their kids in there because they're like, I don't want them to be on drugs, I don't want to be on this.
Right.
But what about a little devotional time? You know?
Of course,
The kids come home and they're so tired.
Right.
They've been to work like a more than an adult.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they come home and they're tired. No, all of that to say this. That's a case that is a case that I see a lot with some people that are doing things, but I think that the majority of people are on the other end. That's just a warning.
Yeah.
But most people, I think, are on the other end. But there are some, and I believe that those kids, unfortunately, those are the ones that have the best opportunity to know Jesus if they would put a little bit of spiritual into that. If they would care for their spiritual well-being. Because they're the ones that have the mind that I know that I'm somebody's servant. Right? I know that I understand discipline. I understand these things, but it's gone to self-esteem rather than through Jesus I can do everything. And so, but to Jackie, to your point, I'm fairly certain that most people are on the other end of that spectrum, where it's like, just do whatever you want, just don't do anything. Chores, what is that? You know, all of that, and then so you end up being having a problem.
Ways they think that the government owes them everything. Because I've watched people growing up. They want to clean the car. They call a car wash to clean the car. You want the garbage out, almost like, they might take out the garbage and that's it. But you want the yard done, the gardener has to come and do the yard. You know, the laundry, the poor mom. I see poor moms, washing, cooking, cleaning, going to work, and the kids are left to do what? And then, yeah, so I see a lot of that, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Mhm.
very unhealthy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that, and I understand what you're saying, and I hope that you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not
But I
against
just
that.
think your part is
Yeah.
an exception. I just think that the
I-
part, like, I don't see a lot of those cases where a child is occupied at school
Yeah.
and at cadet corps, and then, no, I see kids, oh, I start cadet corps, but I'm like, okay, we don't go anymore. I don't like it. You got to get up early in the morning. It was teaching them discipline.
Yep.
Like, kids get to pick whether they want to do something or nothing, or you might
Sure.
pick one activity, and that's it. The rest of
Mm-hmm.
the time, weekends, everything.
Mhm.
So when you look, they're in trouble from a young age, you know?
Yeah. And but once again, too, I would say this too is like, and guess I didn't do a good job of saying it, but the essential thing that I'm trying to point out is
Mhm.
there's two types of neglect, but
Right, right,
neglect
Mhm.
is at the bottom of it.
Mhm.
Because if you say, I'm going to send my kids to be super involved with things because I don't want them to be one of them children kicking around,
Right.
around rocks,
Mhm.
Yep.
right? And if you leave your kids because you can't afford or anything else,
Right,
whatever, both of those things are type of neglect.
Yeah.
correct.
Mhm.
And so you just get one that is a doctor or lawyer, super successful, and another one that turns out to be a bum or struggling all their life with
Right.
self-discipline,
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
right? But both of those things root from the idea that somebody else need to look after my kid,
Mhm.
or something else need to happen, and that's what I was trying to point out.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't do a good job of that, but
Yeah.
that's the key. That's the key. I think is that as parents, as guardians, we need to know that
Mhm.
we look after our kids, and that is
Yeah.
our responsibility,
Mhm.
Yeah.
especially fathers.
Yeah.
The Bible says that fathers are the ones that are supposed to admonish and to raise and nurture
Mhm.
an admonition of the Lord.
Yeah.
And so I think too often our society likes to get rid of the fathers. Just look at some of the welfare laws and the way it used to be only the states was set up, but even Cayman now, the way that you're almost rewarded for having children, women are rewarded, and you bring a husband into the mix, and then it's like,
Ah.
oh, now you got a family. Does he have a job? Now it's even harder to get money.
Mhm.
And so it's like, man, listen, do I have a fix for everything? No.
Yeah.
But I can tell you one thing: if you incentivize not having the father in the home, you're gonna destroy the family,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
and you're gonna destroy the society.
Of course.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
that's how I feel.
Mhm.
We're gonna take a break on that one and come right back, guys, because